And hello, everyone. I don't know how the intro rigmarole is gonna go yet, but it's the first episode of the Box Office Shuffle. My name is Thomas, aka Mr. Wartburg. I'm joined by Chris, aka Gamma Caruchador,
Yo!
and I'm also joined by Joe/Joe.
Hey.
So we are starting a new podcast called Box Office Shuffle. The name is a little self-explanatory, where we are taking our movie collections that we all individually own and running them through a shuffler. Each week, a different host will pick a movie from their collection, and we'll talk about it, discuss our experience with the movie that time. Maybe we've got some fun stories about how we watched the movie the first time when we were kids, things like that. Go through movie trivia, just kind of more actively engage with our individual movie collections. Like me personally, I've been building my collection for, pretty much my whole life, kind of accidentally, and then more purposefully the last 10 years. Growing up, my parents bought a lot of DVDs, and I kept them. Unlike my siblings, they all just kind of stayed with me naturally because I love movies. And I've been watching and buying a lot more 4K and regular Blu-ray on purpose just to kind of fill out a nicer collection over the years. I'm up to about 360 movies right now, which I know in the collector space is very small stakes, but a decent, foundation. And I figured, while it's sitting on a wall and looks nice, I might as well do something with it and talk and watch movies with my friends. So what about you guys? Where are your collections standing right now?
Oh God.
I'm a novice.
we have a spreadsheet. I just want
We
the
have a
audience to know.
spreadsheet.
We've got
I'm a
spreadsheets.
novice. I've got DVDs and Blu-rays, and
Oh, I'm on the wrong scene.
what the hell, Wartburg?
Perfect.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep
Okay,
going.
we'll do it live.
Yep. All right. So I need to go back up to the spreadsheets. Sorry, where we were at. I'm at about 360. I just added two, actually. I added The Other Guys and 21 Jump Street, which I found, the discs are in good condition. I found them at a thrift store in Ames.
Dude, The Other Guys is so good. That's one
No,
of
I got the
mine.
Blu-ray.
Fuck you.
And Joey, I want to go. Joey and I, just for our audience's sake, we live in the same hometown. I want to get down to Ankeny. There's an awesome consignment store that everyone says got a really
there?
good collection. So I'm like,
Hey yo.
I'm game to go down.
Oh, fuck
Let's do
That's what she
a
said.
quick count A in the Google spreadsheet on Chris's count.
102, because I have 51 DVDs and 51 Blu-rays.
Gotcha. And Joey,
Oh,
how many movies you
Quick
got?
split.
You got
270?
yeah. What's the bottom number on your total? 274 minus 1 is 273.
Damn, that's off the top of my head. Let's go.
273 movies for Joey. So, not like, the thousands of movies collections or anything else individually, but a good starting point and a good spot to just start talking about movies. So the plan will be, like I said, we're going to spin a wheel here very, very soon. I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to that scene that I started on, which I shouldn't have. And that's going to tell us our first host, which will be spinning the wheel in 3, 2, 1. It's Joey.
Hey, let's go.
Yo.
Okay,
All
okay,
right,
okay.
so we're starting with Joey's list, which I will pull up here on the Wheel of Names.
Do we want to go over any of the stipulations that we have set for our collections at all, just to give people an idea of
Yeah.
what is and isn't on the list,
Okay.
kind of deal?
So when we were putting this together, we decided there are going to be a few franchises that we don't include in the shuffler, even though we own them. I own almost everything in the MCU, but I've done whole podcasts and rankings on the MCU across different things, like Bottom Shelf Show. We did one for Wafer. We did one on my own channel. I've done one. That seems kind of done to death, even amongst our friend group. It seems kind of pointless, and Star Wars as well. I think all of us collectively have watched every single Star Wars thing, or just about ad nauseum, and the conversations are repetitive to the point where it's like there's not much new. Now that may change as new things come out. We may want to do specific things for Star Wars. Like I've got a Star Wars Day idea for next year, but that's way down the line.
Sick.
Because I've got the despecialized, and that kind of thing, just like that kind of thing to do with the community. That might not be a show, but
Is that where Jabba's a human?
I think so.
Wait, what?
Yeah, in the deleted scene.
Jabba was originally a human who wore
just like a mafia, like
furry
gangster
coat.
dude.
Just like the Russian mafia.
Yeah. So that might be something we're gonna do. We've got seasonal ideas, but the big two we decided we're not gonna do were MCU. Oh, and Harry Potter 2. We just didn't want to do that. Those are kind of the big three. We were like, we're not doing those, and we're gonna focus on the rest of our collection and hopefully get to some more unique movies or movies we haven't seen in some time, maybe even since childhood. Or in my case, there's a few I've never opened. I just had them and never watched them. So. That's kind of the rigmarole and more or less the stipulations for how we got started. So, let's pick Joey's movie that we're gonna watch.
Hell yeah!
The wheel is spinning.
Oh.
What are we gonna get? The winner is The Godfather Part 3.
Bro, I've never seen a Godfather movie.
So in that case, then this brings us to where this is gonna kind of change on the fly. This is part 3. Do you own the first one?
I own all 3, yes.
Then I would say Godfather counts, like, if we're going to do a trilogy thing and you have the first one.
Let's start with 1.
That's
what I was going to recommend.
You start with the oldest. So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, so we are going to start
I've never seen any Godfather movie. This is going to be crazy.
We are starting out with a Stone Cold classic.
God damn.
We're starting out with...
I feel like with my taste of movies... I'm about to get ripped to shreds on the first episode because I feel like I'm not gonna like it, and everybody's just gonna be like, "You're stupid," and die. And I'm going to get all of those comments, and I'm here for it.
I'm ready, man. It's gonna be a good time.
I've got like some silent films on mine, so I was kind of worried about getting those. So like, oh, this could be.
Yeah, you've got some old stuff.
I've got some 53 stuff.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a good time. And we've got some super new stuff. We've got some super old stuff. But obviously, we're starting with a classic, The Godfather. And I'll go ahead and remove that from Joey's database going forward.
I know. I was like, of all the ones to pick, ooh.
Yep.
Regarded one of the best trilogies of all time, and we're starting with that.
And we're starting with it,
and it's something that one of us hasn't seen before.
I haven't seen it
nuts.
since high school, so it's been over 20 years.
I watch it yearly as one of my yearly movies. I watch Godfather, not the third one, but
yeah,
it's right up there with another yearly one. There'll Be Blood.
So this is your Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is Lord of the Rings for me.
Same here.
Also, yeah.
Lord of the Rings, Spider-Verse.
So quick, let's look up. Joey, would you look up the runtime for The Godfather as well as get a year for me? When did it premiere?
Ooh.
So just for the audience's sake, because I think this is probably going to live as like an episode 0/teaser until we find time to actually record the episode 1. What we're going to do is watch the movie with my Discord community. Eventually, we may spin off a separate Discord for this show, but right now we're just using my basic kind of Twitch community one. And we're going to be watching the movie together, kind of giving some light thoughts, and then the three of us will separate, record our episode, and then upload it for you guys. What you're going to get, once Joey gives me some of the basic info here, is...
All right, Godfather. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go for it.
Came out in 1972, and it's a 2-hour and 55-minute movie.
Yeah, I remember it being a long boy.
Oh my god. Is this going to be Dune again?
Famously, audience, he hated Dune.
I hate it so much.
Now, in fairness, he watched it the worst possible way, which is like a 720p stream over Discord.
No. Here's the thing. It's not about the quality in which I watched it visually. It's about how garbage of a movie it is. It's terrible.
We're starting out fucking strong.
I don't even have to get to episode 1 for people to send me death threats.
We need just episode
I'm
0.
gonna die.
Just no.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's good.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit us with the transition sound effect and get us out of here. See you in the future after we've watched The Godfather. And hello everyone from the future. I guess it's been like what time did we do this? What time did we record?
Week and a half ago.
Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 days ago. We just watched the movie on July. Wait, what day did we watch the movie?
6.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I should have wrote this down.
That's today.
off to
we
a
wa-
banging start. Today, I wrote down the day. I guess
We watched it
today's
today. I
generous.
watched it today again.
Today's July 6th. That's not when we did it. We did it
I
last
think we
weekend, June
watched
30th.
it 6 days ago.
Yeah, we watched it last weekend, all 3 hours of it. For two of us, the very first time all the way through. I have seen it in segments. Chris has never seen it, and Joey has watched it many, many times.
Yes.
And because Joey's watched it many, many times, Joey, what are your thoughts on The Godfather?
It's how do I put it lightly? It's one of my top 5 movies, probably. It tells a good story. It is a little bit long in the kind of the middle, but the front and the back end I find of the movie is really good. No, I how do I put this properly? I actually didn't find out about The Godfather before I actually bought the video game back from do you remember, Tom? Algona had that movie gallery.
Oh, yeah.
They're going out of business.
Yeah, that was
This is
right
from
next to
that
Hy-Vee,
time.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was from this time period. But I found the video game, then I found the movie, and then I just kind of fell in love with it. And then, yeah, I've always found the movie to be quite enjoyable. It's a long watch, 100% is, but it's really good for someone like me who paints miniatures. Just have that on the background, just a 3-hour session, pound out a couple minis and stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. So, have you always been into like mafia stuff?
Oh yeah, 100%. Today I was actually looking for old pictures of me dressed up as a kid in an old mafia outfit. Like my dad had what is it? He would cut out like little Tommy guns out of like leftover wood and stuff like that, and it's how I dress up as Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I've always just kind of love that time period, and I love the cars too from them.
Oh yeah, that era of cars, like they just
Mhm.
look sweet. Like that's the
So
reason.
good.
Like I want to go to the for the viewer, our small towns where we went to school, they have their like town day celebrations. There's always car shows, and tomorrow, July 7th, is the big one in Crystal Lake. I kind of want to go to it and get some Dora's tacos. That sounds fantastic.
I haven't tried those tacos yet.
Oh, I haven't either,
No.
but I'm very looking forward to that. But so for me, I had never seen it all the way through. We watched the opening and up through the horsehead scene and I can't remember what, I think it was like a cinema history class in college. I took a 1 semester course for just to fill out a gen ed for an art thing. And I'm pretty sure we watched the opening of that because it was about cinematography and direction for that segment of the class. And it was all about like the opening and the setting the stage and then kind of giving you that first reveal of the character with who the Don is and how he acts through the scene with the horse head. You know, like in the sending the message and the make an offer he can't refuse, you know, foreshadowing and then the pretty immediate payoff with the studio head for his underling to get him the movie role. And that was the most I had watched consistently. And I've seen bits and pieces. You see clips, you know, floating around all the time. And obviously, it's been hugely influential in a number of different things, from references. It's had its own follow-up series. It's part of a trilogy, obviously.
Mhm.
But even more recently, I can't believe The Offer wasn't made until 2022. Like the story about the making of The Godfather is as interesting, if not more interesting, than the film itself. And I can't believe it went that long before like a really high profile making of series, like a, you know, obviously it's fictional, you know, reenactment kind of stuff, but still, everyone said it was really awesome, and I actually need to watch it. I might make that my tomorrow project to get started on that. But I really enjoyed the movie, and I've always been a sucker for a really well done mafia story. To that point about liking mafia stuff, Joey, this is why you should watch Person of Interest, because the first 2.5, 3 seasons has an awesome mafia subplot. Like,
Okay.
truly, truly awesome mafia subplot that ties into like a bunch of dirty, corrupt syndicates and stuff. It's awesome. You'd fucking love that show. Just for that alone, let alone the fact that it's also a really great modern day sci-fi show. But that's enough evangelizing about a different thing. Chris, immediately in the aftermath of the movie, which we watched with our Discord, you had some thoughts.
I did.
You may or may not have posted the Family Guy, you know, and I might put that up in here with the I did not care for The Godfather.
I did not care for The Godfather. I didn't. I just straight up didn't. Now, I did know going into it that I know that this was a big part of cinema history. I've wanted to watch The Godfather. I think it's important to watch as somebody who likes movies. But just because a movie is influential, just because a movie is well made, that does not mean that you as a person have to like it. And that was me. I don't like it. I'm not somebody who cares about mafia movies at all. I've never cared to watch a mafia movie aside from like The Godfather. I feel like The Departed has to be on that must watch list, even though I don't care about mafia movies. But like I knew going into it, this probably isn't going to be a movie for me. It was very slow to me, and I think part of that comes from the fact that I not caring for mafia movies, I didn't care about any of the characters. There wasn't a single character in that I was like, man, I connect with that guy, or I hope that that guy wins. I hoped all of them died. It was like the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Patriots. I hope the stadium blows up. Like, it's I didn't care about anybody. So whenever anybody died, I was just like, okay, when's the next death? I just thought it was a really slow movie, and I do understand that it was a different time. That's a different era of storytelling. Um, I think that there are ways that you can do slow storytelling and make it right. Look at things like is it Arrival? Is Arrival the one with the aliens?
Yes.
Or is it The Arrival?
I think
There are
it's just,
two that
I
came
think
out.
it's just Arrival.
Okay, Arrival. Arrival is slow, but it's a good slow because it keeps me invested somehow. And I think part of
That's
that
also
is
a very narrow focused film.
it is also very narrow focused. But also I love sci-fi stuff. So like if I loved the mafia genre, I think I would have loved The Godfather. I just didn't. I do appreciate all of the references that have come from it though. Modern Family has a great one at the end of an episode. What even Zootopia, a
Yeah.
child's movie,
Yeah.
has reference to The Godfather. You've got Muppet Treasure Island, I'm pretty sure has a reference to Godfather. Like there's so many movies that have been influenced by this, even if it's just taking a small part of it. So as much as I don't care for the movie and I don't think I ever need to watch it again, I think I do want to watch the other two because I think it's important to watch both of those. As part of a cinema history, because that was like one of the earliest trilogies, wasn't it? That was one of the first,
And yet it was also one of the
it's
first that had like its follow-up sequel be a whole generation later. There was 16 years between Godfather 2 and 3.
Oh, okay.
It was 74 to 1990.
Wow.
Like that's nuts. That's like the
Mhm.
follow-up of like Anchorman and Anchorman 2. You know what I mean? Like huge.
I mean, that's almost as
stretch
much
of
as Star
time.
Wars Episode 6 to 1.
Yeah, that's another great example. Like that's weird to think about. But yeah, like that's not a modern phenomenon. This has been going on in cinemas for quite some time. I want to, if we do end up pulling, Godfather 3 in our list, I'd love to maybe get into the mechanics of like why did it take so long to get made? You know?
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Because like I mean, with Star Wars, you understand because he was waiting for technology to evolve so that he could tell the story that he wanted to tell. He thought it was the right time for George Lucas, but like, why for The Godfather 3? It feels like something that you could have just made right away with the era in which you're telling the story, like where the story is taking place time wise. I think it's important to watch these movies if you're really into movies. I find it, you don't have to like movies. Like I think Citizen Kane is a super important movie. I think that movie is a piece of trash. I was bored. There's nothing good about Citizen Kane other than the technology that it it gave. Rosebud. I don't even care about your fucking wagon, man.
What's this sled?
Spoilers or whatever. Who cares? The
Now they
sled
don't have to watch it,
wagon.
it's okay.
Oh my gosh, it does or doesn't have wheels. Whatever.
Just for a quick heads up, number 2 came out in 74, and number 3 came out in 90.
Yeah, I was saying, like there's
1990.
just so long of a time.
Such a gap.
Like that's crazy. And obviously part of it is you want the actors to age a little bit, but you
Yeah.
clearly see that's one thing I want to touch about. Speaking of age, one of the things that still I think holds up so well is Brando's like aging. Like
Mhm.
I think I was watching a Tom Hanks interview. This came up in my algorithm a few months ago, and it's kind of stuck with me. It was like when before he started acting, he knew like, oh man, like that was a really good job. But then when he got into film, he's like, no, that was just straight up. That's like the best of all time kind of like acting makeup. Because I've seen shows and movies do that horribly, where you turn an actor 20, 30, 40 years older by makeup. A lot of times it doesn't go well, right?
Yeah.
It's often way overdone. It's often done way too much. Versus this was really subtle, and it also speaks to how talented Marlon Brando was as an actor. And the story of him getting casting is also really great. And that's where I think The Godfather in and of itself is really interesting, is talking about the story about how it got made. Because obviously it's been a movie that's been discussed ad nauseum. But like for me, like those backstories of like how did people get the roles? How did Francis Ford Coppola get chosen to be the director? And then parallel that with like where movies were at the time. Like you mentioned, it was an earlier era of storytelling, Chris. It was just an early, like, basically post the 50s, like kind of that golden age of Hollywood. Movies were kind of in a weird place. Not that, ill of a comparison to like the last 4 or 5 years with COVID, really making studio execs going like, what the hell are we doing here? How do we get people in theaters? Movies were in a very similar place then in the 60s. There was so much going on culturally, with civil rights movements, presidential assassinations, and other figures getting assassinated, the space race, the Cold War. There was a lot going on, and did that play a big enough role in keeping people away from theaters? They didn't know really how to adapt. This is one of the first movies that was, oh, people are showing up. We did not expect this level of amazement. Like they were making it on a shoestring budget comparatively. I believe it ended up being about a $6 million movie. I think is what the final figure was. Initially, they were only going to do like a $3 million, which by comparison from inflation for anyone watching would be, if they had stuck with the $3 million, that's about a $25 million movie, which is basically Godzilla minus one cost.
Mm-hmm.
6 million ends up about 48 to 50 million, depending on, which, inflation calculator you're looking at. But that's kind of to give you a comparison. And it hit super, like, out of nowhere, became this massive thing, which really maybe shouldn't have been such a massive, like, underestimation by the studios, because the book it's based on was a hugely successful, influential bestseller. It was, internationally a global phenomenon, kind of recaptured, people's imagination with the mafia at the same time as the law was starting to catch up with the mafia. So it was in the news constantly. It was a thing people were always aware of. Trying to think of a good recent, corollary. For me, the one that got saved movies is like Top Gun Maverick back in, was it 22? Well, that was one of the first like big releases that got people to go back to the theaters, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
It's hard to give an example maybe of like something that's so in the news, so already big pop culture wise, that turns into a big thing. That was an unexpected big thing, because like Harry Potter was expected to be a big thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Lord of the Rings.
Maybe
because the New Line was the only studio that were like, we see the vision.
You could argue Barbie probably wouldn't have been as big if it weren't for Barbenheimer.
True.
Because like people who went to see Oppenheimer probably weren't the same demographic who were going to go see Barbie, and vice versa. But then Barbenheimer became a thing, and therefore both of them
really went way above expectations.
Blew up. Yeah.
That's a decent pull. Yeah, and like then the story about how they adapt the book from like, hey, we're gonna drop the mafia and Cosa Nostra altogether is also super fascinating. Because like Chris, I didn't know if you watched that. I shared a making of kind of documentary. I think it's off one of the first DVDs is where that's pulled from. It's about a 40-minute deep dive on how they made it, with a bunch of the people involved on the backside, as well as a few bit character actors as well. So at the time, as the mafia are trying to stay low, there's one branch of the mafia that does not. And they were running the Italian Civil Rights League. I think that's what the actual name was. And it was Joseph and Anthony Colombo. They were trying to get the movie shut down. Their people were like threatening the producers, breaking into their cars, leaving threatening notes, calling in bomb threats. They were like, and then once the movie was like, okay, well, we can't stop it. We'll just make sure the union doesn't work with you to really slow you down. And eventually it comes to a head and they have this meeting and he says, one of the Colombo brothers, I think it was Joseph, read the script and said, and he didn't get through all of it. Said, you're going to take out anything with Mafia and Cosa Nostra because we don't want, these stereotypes about Italian Americans. And there was only one word of Mafia in the entire script anyway, but they ended up taking it out and they focused more on the 5 families, and that's kind of become the nomenclature of the New York Mafia. Even in stuff like I mentioned Person of Interest earlier, they really don't bring up the mob much. It's just they talk about the families a lot. And that change, like, and how they viewed the 1940s and 50s era of the mafia really changed culturally how Americans and the world viewed mafia culture and how they themselves viewed their own culture. Like it actually changed their own behavior, like how they dressed, how they spoke to one another, their music. It changed a whole heck of a lot. And it also, on the cinema side, changed a lot how cinema looked. The cinematographer, I believe it was Gordon Willis? Yeah, Gordon Willis, who would be known as the Prince of Darkness because of how he lit his shots. The opening.
Yeah, that was a dark movie.
Especially the opening scene. That was some of the first things they shot. And that was some of the first scenes that Paramount saw, and they hated it. Like, they hated it. And it was a very long time where Paramount just didn't want to make this movie because they'd had other mafia movies flop. It was kind of like how all the Pirates movies kept flopping before Pirates of the Caribbean's hit, right? And they just, nobody wanted to make pirate movies anymore because they just don't work. But when you find a great story and a solid cast to go with it, they can still work. And The Godfather proved that. But they saw his shots and were like, it looks like it was lit, with a lighter. It's like, they can't see what's going on. They don't understand it. But on the cinema side, it influenced how a lot of 70s cinema would be shot. And Willis would go on to shoot all 3 Godfather films, as well as, I want to say, like 7 or 8 Woody Allen movies. And he's kind of post, retirement and posthumously viewed as like one of the bigger names in Hollywood cinema history in terms of how film looks when things are done, especially with all his work on film. So I thought that was a really interesting note, as well as like just how that all meshed together with like the culture of it, the new, like things were in the news, the fact that like the cops knew who all the mafia players were, and they were accidentally surveilling actors because there was so much commingling between that Civil Rights League and the actors on set, and like Luca Brasi, what was his name? What's his last name?
Oh, the guy that was repeating his lines over and over
again. Luca Brasi.
Yeah.
That's one of my.
Actually a hitman.
He was a mafia hitman and arsonist, and former wrestler, and would go into some bit character roles after this movie. But that scene where he's at the wedding talking to himself, that was him rehearsing. It's like, I love background stories like that. Like, he did not know his lines. He was super nervous, and it was just him rehearsing. And then the flubs when he's talking to the Don were all he screwed up and they kept it in. It just worked so well. I love stuff like that. But so anything stick out to you guys in terms of like maybe what things you specifically don't like? Because we've been talking about some more big picture things. Get a little micro. Anything that like maybe
Super
sticks with you?
When Michael's over in Italy and the car blows up, you can definitely tell it's just a dummy leg sticking out.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna bring that up.
I've been watching him like, that's a dummy. I was like, oh shit. Right
looks
over.
like-
Okay.
Oh no, they killed a mannequin.
Oh god.
It reminds me, so me and Joey, our high school class, we would do these movies, like either for history class or just for fun. And we made a straw dummy that we were like using it as a place of a hostage, and we ended up throwing it off one of my outbuildings. And we just follow the dummy as it hits the ground, and the straw goes everywhere. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's similar to that aspect, but it's just, I was like, oh,
man.
shit.
Oh, it's so good.
That's awesome.
Uh, about you, Chris? Anything that you specifically didn't like? Any specific character, actors, story beats, things like that?
Um, I will say I think the acting was really good. God, I was saying this like right afterwards. I had no idea James Caan was in The Godfathers. I love James Caan.
Yeah.
Because he was in what was he was in an old famous Western. I can't remember what it was.
I'm gonna pull up his
But you
IMDb.
could but also is it the Cowboys? No. I can't remember. But I mean he's in The Godfather. He's also in Elf.
Oh yeah,
Like it's crazy to see like where some of these old actors ended up and such. Because I feel like oh my god, why Al Pacino.
yeah,
Al
Oh
Pacino
yeah.
very much became that mafia kind of like demographic actor. He stayed within there. Um, but then you have James Caan who has done so many different types of films. And I'm sure Pacino has also done many types of films, but he's done a whole lot of mafia stuff.
yes, and a lot
Um
of cop stuff.
yeah, yeah. So he's like in the same vein. Um but
Yeah,
it's like, but I just thought it was really interesting. Like the main thing that stood out to me was holy crap, James Caan is in this. That makes no sense to me. I mean, I've gone 32 years. I've heard so much about The Godfather. I never knew James Caan was in it.
yeah. For me, I forgot it was Robert Duvall was the lawyer, the consigliere. I forgot it was Duvall,
Mm,
and because obviously you don't think Duvall because he's not Italian American, and
right.
I just forgot he was in the film because I had seen that first section when he's fairly front and center in the roles, but
Mhm.
yeah, that was for me. And trying to think, for me, I think it was the thing that fell the most flat for me was uh, Talia Shires, who's actually Francis Ford Coppola's sister. She would go on to play Adrian in the Rocky films. That everything with her character, and I don't think this is her fault. I think it's just how the '70s treated women, like how she's
Yeah.
like becomes super hysteric on a dime. Like that just came off the screen to me as not real.
Mm,
Like the other character, bits, and you can see how a character would react a certain way. That to me, they decided to go from hey, we're at a 1 and a 2 to here's an 11 with how she
yeah.
acts, and it was also some of her first work in a major motion picture on that scale, which is one of the reasons the movie was able to be made because Coppola got so many cheap parts cast in the film. But that was one I think that really fell flat. Thankfully, obviously, that's a very tertiary, character in terms of the overall story. Albeit
Right.
plays a major part in one character's death
Yeah.
unintentionally. But yeah, to me, that was the two main scenes with her. Just to me, came off as okay. You're doing a little too much, and that's not really her fault or anything like that. I
Right.
think it's just a case of well, the movie was made in the very early 1970s. I don't think it would be made like that today.
No.
But much of the other stuff probably would because it hit all the beats that everyone else is aping off when it comes to mafia stories. So
Mhm.
that was it for
Probably
me.
probably no real horse head in the bed though. That's the
No,
only.
probably no real horse heads because I don't
Yeah.
think PETA would be a fan.
I don't think they'd be able to go.
Yeah, that whole sequence because that was the thing we would discuss in that course I took in school about how yeah it was a real horse that
Mhm.
they was going to be slaughtered no matter what. It was slated for slaughter because it was so old, and they killed it and put its head.
Yeah.
And the rehearsals were all a fake head. The real shot was a real head. The actor didn't know.
Yeah.
That's trauma.
Yeah,
That's trauma.
there's some real fucked up stories out of the '70s films with directors just not telling their actors stuff and just kind of saying fuck it, we'll do it our way and do it the way I want to with no regard for human life,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to a certain Landis. But we'll get to that maybe in the future when it comes to movies we'll pull because people
That's
actually
why
die.
unions are a thing, kid.
For real, like this is an era where films would things would just kind of go off the rails and then future contracts with the unions and stuff would like change how things were operated. Like this is an era where, yeah, things were pretty fast and loose in a lot of ways by how we perceive them today. Still not perfect today, but yeah, you can't. I can't imagine the director just springing a fake from going from fake horse to live horse today and not telling anyone. Like that would be
Yeah.
all over the news if that happened.
That-
The
oh,
director would
that'd
be fired the next day if it happened. Like that's pretty messed up. Like just to screw with somebody like that for a shot, right? Like,
Right.
damn.
It's like, ooh.
And the real head would probably never be used, but that was something that stuck out to me too. Anything else before we move on?
I got nothing.
Nah.
Okay, so should we pick our next movie? Or do we want to talk any more about this film?
I
Let's
think
go into the next movie.
Oh,
I think we get the next movie.
one last
Yeah.
note off my note sheet was
Yeah.
there was a time before you got too much further into the 70s. This was the highest grossing movie of all time, and
Really?
it was the highest grossing movie. You know what the movie was before it that was highest grossing of all time? Take a guess.
Gone with the Wind.
Joey knows. It was Gone with the Wind.
I've also got that in my collection.
Yeah, I have that as well. I only have that on VHS, so I didn't include it in the sheet because I don't have a way to reliably get that to play through Discord. But
I saw a complete factory sealed Gone with the Wind VHS box. I almost bought it just to have it. I
dude,
was like,
that'd be great. That'd be
this is,
awesome
like
to
from
have
the
with that.
factory somehow like still in its original packaging. It's like, holy crap.
That's cool.
Dang.
But yeah, so that was one of the highest grossing movies of all time, up to a point. It's obviously been well surpassed in many years.
Yeah.
Even later into the 70s, you had I don't did Jaws beat it? I can't remember, but like Jaws, even just a
Did
few years
Star
later,
Wars beat it?
Jaws would change the face of cinema with the summer blockbuster movie, right? Like
Mhm.
everything would change after this movie, and in a large part because of this movie, movies becoming a big thing again. Because in their initial stage, in the 30s through the 50s, they were the thing, right? Like even go looking back at the Great Depression, movies didn't suffer. People could go, right? And they did in massive numbers. And then they, kind of dwindled off, like I said, in the 60s. And then they came back huge again in the 70s, in a large part because of films like this. So I wanted to touch on that before we moved on. So we're going to go to our next film. Let me change my scene. What we first need to do is
You gotta pick whose list.
That's where I have. Hang on, let me go to the wheel spin page. We're going to open. Instead of the wheel, where's my.
Oh.
I have a 50-cent piece. What did I do with that?
Oh, let's do it. I have a
I got one in my golf bag.
Pokemon coin.
Yeah, let's use that. I had my 50-cent piece sitting next to me, but I moved it.
Is it the
Would you
original
like-
151 one?
Would you like
Really?
Raikou or would you like Suicune?
Suicune, of course.
Yeah,
All
go with
right,
that.
Suicune. All right. You want to do heads you, tails me?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, that landed over in a dice tray. It is tails. It was
All right, so we're
the
loading.
black side.
So we're gonna load your list.
It's my list. My dinky little 104 movie list.
Tom, I got 35 more movies to add to my list.
Oh my god.
I
I
know.
wish I had income.
This is from a
I
buddy.
would
We
love-
share this.
right.
We share
Yeah,
a server
right
together.
now.
Galaxy Quest. Yes.
Let's go.
We're starting out.
That's one of my favorite movies.
We're starting out so fucking strong with this
Let's
podcast, dude.
go.
Getting to watch some
I'm
straight up
so
bangers.
excited.
Oh man, I'm excited for this one.
Dude, we gotta watch Galaxy Quest, and then we've gotta also watch to prepare. We have to watch what is it, Never Surrender? Is that the documentary they made about the making of Galaxy Quest that came out like 3 years ago?
Oh, we'll watch that.
I think it's on like Prime or it might be on Hulu. I can't remember.
Sounds good. We'll definitely have to look that up.
But it's really good.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
speaking of, we'll leave this in B-roll. If you could get me some photos or video of your movie collection, I'll put them in our, overlay
Ooh.
of the intro. Because I'm gonna re-edit that basically.
Yeah. I'll
You
have
don't
to.
picture of a hard drive?
Or you can do screenshots of your jellyfin. That's fine too. Next movie is Galaxy Quest. Hell yeah. That's actually
Oh, that's so hype.
No.
that's the first
Yeah.
movie I ripped for my own hard drive.
I know.
to test out my Blu-rays.
Let's go.
You posted that, and I'm like, man, I can't wait until we watch Galaxy Quest. I
Dude.
was like, it's gonna be like years down the line.
Till we pull that
But no,
right
let's
away.
go.
I promise
I
we're
have
not
so
rigging
much
these.
to say about this movie too. I love this movie so much.
And as a host, I'm loving that we got something that Joey has watched a lot, and now you've watched a lot.
Mhm.
I assume Joey, you've seen this movie a few times, Galaxy Quest.
Yes, I have.
Got it.
Yes. Not as recent, but yes, I've watched it like at least 3 times.
And I haven't watched it all the way through since I got fully back into Star Trek. So I'm very much looking forward to
Wow.
this. Because I want to say last time I watched it would have been, well, it's pre-COVID for sure. I want to say it was like 2018, maybe is last time I watched it. So it's been 6 years.
Wait, I think we might have watched it together because that's probably the same time period that
Yeah,
I watched it.
Because this was
Yeah.
back when I was really like first starting to do the Twitch movie night things. I think
Mhm.
this was one of the movies we did.
Okay.
But yeah, then since obviously Paramount Plus and new Star Treks have really like been awesome. So like I'm excited to watch another kind of Star Trek parody, yet also a really good movie. So
Mhm.
that should be a great time. Back to the
One of the
full-
best nerd culture movies.
Oh,
of all
absolutely!
time.
What a movie
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
by
Look at
Grabthar's
these-
Hammer. I'm
these
excited
so
for this. So speaking of movies, have you guys, Joey? You were talking about what were you saying about adding to your collection?
I had 35 more movies to add to my collection.
Ooh, what'd you all buy?
Um,
Other than the
that's
ones
why-
we saw.
No, this would be totally different. These are ones that have been recently. Me and my friend, we stare at the Jellyfin server, so he's ripping stuff right now that he just found. So we've got like Step Brothers, we've got Grandma's Boy, we have a lot more coming right now. It's just a lot of stuff he's found recently. I'm like,
Nice.
holy cow!
I
So I'm pretty
actually
excited about that.
brought 2 of mine that I just bought. So every now and then Amazon will run these like $10 4K Blu-ray, DVD, and digital sales on like select movies. So I've got The Untouchables. I haven't taken it
that's
out
a
of the
great
plastic yet.
movie.
So that's another one I've been like in the vein of The Godfather. I was like,
Godfather, baby.
ooh, can't wait to watch that. And
Kevin
then
Costner.
since me and Joey went to watch A Quiet Place Part 2, or day 1, I bought A Quiet Place for $10.
Oh, I can't
Go.
wait to see the new one.
Oh, it's real good, Chris. You'll love it.
I've heard it's great. I've heard it's better than like the sequel that they made. Which
I'd say it's on
I
that
thought
level.
2 was great.
Yeah,
I
I'd say it's
thought
on that
2 was
level.
Great.
Now, no, neither of them are as good as the first one for just like how.
Okay.
Oh
yeah.
shit, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That was unexpectedly, and it was
I
a really good
love
time.
The Quiet Place. So good.
That's like the line of thriller horror for me. I don't much going like above that. Like Ready or Not's close, but that's played more for almost fun, right? Because like
Yeah.
some of the deaths are like funny.
Mhm.
It's like that movie's a bit of a mix of like Tucker and Dale versus Evil and like a traditional horror movie. It's like it like splits the middle of those,
Yeah.
and that's like the line for me. I don't much want to go past that. It doesn't work for me. But
yeah, I'm
A
not
Quiet
a horror
Place,
movie guy.
Quiet Place, I really enjoyed,
Mhm.
and that one's definitely I might have Fusion put together our Halloween list and have him run that and join for that for us if he
Oh,
can, because he's
Yes.
got a lot of great horror films.
Oh, guys, I'm busy on Halloween for the
Yeah.
Halloween episode.
Yeah.
I'm a little sissy
But
bitch.
you won't be watching it alone.
Yeah.
We'll be
I'll
with
hold
you.
you.
Physically, I will.
It's over a Discord call. We can leave the mics on. It's okay.
Mom.
No, I love horror mostly for like kind of like the story that's kind of being told and just kind of like how the creature became like evil and stuff like that. I kind of love that
Mhm.
obsession about horror movies.
Gotcha. So back to wrap this all up and talk back about The Godfather a little bit more. Oh, I just realized I do have something on my elbow.
Bug bite?
Oh,
No, I did. Yeah, I wonder why my elbow was hurting earlier. I must have really scraped it on something. I didn't know. We were moving some furniture yesterday, so that's probably what it was. But yeah, house renovations are fun. Joey knows all about that at my place.
Fuck.
It's never ending.
It
My
doesn't stop.
dad's a farmer. We've been working on this house for like 30 years. It's never gonna end. But so The Godfather. Since this is a podcast about our physical movies or just our movies in our collection altogether, because obviously Joey's is on the digital Plex side kind of thing, or Jellyfin to be clear.
Not Plex.
Yeah, not Plex. But in that vein of like Joey's doing it his way, I'm having I'm building the physical collection, And Chris is, Chris is along for the ride in the
I'm
physical
here.
media space.
I'm here.
He's
I'm
our
physically
off the
present.
wall opinions guy.
Oh yeah.
But who likes movies? And I was like, I want Chris to join us because then he can watch a whole lot of movies for free and talk about movies together. So would this be a movie? Because Chris and I, we don't have this in our collections right now.
Mhm.
I assume, Chris, this is not a movie you would add to your collection.
Nope.
Okay.
Mhm.
It is a movie I would want to add. It's definitely one I have added. I have a spreadsheet going of like my what I want to buy in 4K, what I want to buy in Blu-ray, or what I'd be fine just buying digitally. That's a very small list because if I can buy a new movie, I'd rather just get the 4K or the Blu-ray. This would be one I'd like to buy. I believe there is the 4K trilogy. I had it pulled up, and I think it's in one of my Amazon lists. I would buy that because I think, like Chris said, it's such a seminal work of cinema that it should be in the collection, especially as I'm building what I hope by the time I'm retired and or in the ground is like a really, really diverse, deep movie collection. And also with movies I enjoyed. Because I enjoyed this movie. But if it was not this is the greatest movie of all time, I don't know if I'd buy this movie. You know what I mean? Like it kind of straddles that line of, like for me, the determination comes down, hey, if I can get that trilogy for $30 or less on 4K, I'll buy it. Not above that. That's not worth it for me in terms of what I want to consume. So if I see it on a good sale for the 4K, I'll buy that. So that's I think the button on our Godfather talk. And just to speak to the audience for a moment, obviously our conversations will get a little more, hopefully we find a good cadence for how we want to talk about films as we go, because we're all new to this in terms of doing our own deep dives and what we want to talk about with the films. So it'll improve. And this one is weird because we split it across like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because the first episode, we didn't know what movie we were going to pull. We didn't know we were going to pull a 3-hour epic and then need to just kill an entire evening for it.
Versus banger.
This one is, I believe, Galaxy Quest is less than 2
like
hours.
150 minutes or something like that, like 152.
It's 2.5 hours.
Is it really?
Wait,
no,
what?
that's what 150 minutes is 2.5 hours.
Or no, I meant an hour and 50 minutes,
hour 42.
54.
Yeah, it's a very brisk sci-fi movie. So
yeah, let's get down to the point. Let's not spend so much time in Sicily
or on a wedding.
Not spend 30 minutes at a wedding to set up the movie. If I don't get to the action, like, where's the call to action? It happened like an hour and 40 minutes into the movie.
They were developing characters. The guy was explaining stuff to you subtly without like.
Galaxy Quest is ended by the call to action.
So would you say it insists upon itself?
It insists upon itself.
All right, so we're gonna get out of here. We'll be back roughly 2-ish weeks to talk about Galaxy Quest. And then that one we'll probably record right after the movie because it's a shorter film.
Yeah.
So that'll be a one shot. There won't be a transition, hopefully, when it comes to editing. So it'll be hopefully a little tighter focused episode. But hope you enjoy the episode for episode 1 for The Godfather. Leave a like and subscribe, all that kind of thing. I'll get this up on a podcast service eventually once we figure out what we're doing with that for stream or for our graphics and stuff like that. But since this isn't exactly a timely thing, that can go up whenever that gets fully edited. And as we get going,
find time to make that stuff.
Yeah, it's okay. Chris is an artist, if you don't know. So
I'm here.
that
butt that's behind it.
That Dark Magician Girls, fabulous.
Also,
What?
And if you're listening to this, hey, guess what? We have a video version that you can go watch where you can see the butt that I'm talking about.
It's right over Joey's shoulder. Also, a whole lot of other stuff.
Stickers.
Yeah. So Chris is going to get that taken care of for us. And once that's done, I can get it on podcast services. Short term, this will be up on our YouTube channel. So leave the like and subscribe. And then eventually, if this continues to grow and people really want to do that and want to watch these movies with us, let us know. Leave a comment. And I might share the Discord link. Share a little, 6-hour link and see if you want to join the Discord server and maybe eventually spin it off into its own server. We'll see what happens. But
Hell yeah.
thanks everyone. Thanks Chris and Joey for joining us. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for the Galaxy
I'm
Quest.
so excited.
It should be a good time.
I cannot wait to watch Sam. What's his name?
Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. I couldn't remember his last
Dude,
name.
that
I
was-
can't wait
that
to
was
watch
for
him
me.
scream.
Growing up, that was my, oh shit, Sam Rockwell's fucking awesome. Like,
Dude,
goddamn.
dude, I can't wait to come tell you what Sam Rockwell's first movie was in that episode.
Like, I'm looking forward to you kind of driving the train on that. It should be a really good time.
I love Sam Rockwell.
So yeah, next episode should be a great one. Is all I'm saying. You should
Yep.
like and subscribe. Bye.